What's up, San Antonio Sparce fans? My name is Will, also known as Indomitable Will, formerly known as Will the RNG Lord, and I am bringing you my draft analysis for the Master Battle Circuit Season 1. I guess technically this is Season 2, but we're calling it Season 1 because last season a lot of things didn't go the way I had initially planned them to. It's the same league, same logo, different management, and this is a league that I run. It is a multi-generation league, which means we are going to be drafting. Last season it was 3, this season it is now 4 teams, and so I will be breaking down each one of my drafts and why I picked these specific mons. And another little disclaimer before we get started: the Pokemon you see that are white, they had a little bit of trouble getting into the sprite editor when I was removing white backgrounds from Pokemon. So one of them is completely, almost unseeable, and that is on the USUM draft, and we'll get to that when we get the chance to. But with the Scarlet and Violet, if you can see Zoroark's missing a bit of its mane there, that's why. Anyway, let's start with Scarlet and Violet. So, originally I put it to a vote for the league what we wanted Terra rules to be for Generation 9 and what we wanted Z-Move rules to be for Generation 7. So for Generation 9, we decided everything is allowed to Terra. In Generation 7, everything besides the Mega is allowed to hold a Z-Move. So, let's start with our Generation 9 draft, as that will be Week 1. Then we go in a backwards order, 8, 7, 6, and then Week 5 we will be playing Gen 9 again. So, we're going to start with the Gen 9 draft, and I had first pick of the draft, so I was very fortunate to get my choice of busted Pokemon, and I picked Dragonite. So, Dragonite is very, very powerful with Terra Normal Extreme Speed, but it also just has great versatility, a wide move pool, and can do way more than just Terra Normal. It can go flying for Terra Blast Flying, can go ground, can go fire, can go electric. Has so many good options, and I believe it's one of, if not the strongest mon in the format, purely due to Terra Normal Extreme Speed being very strong, especially paired with multi-scale. The Pokemon we picked to follow that up was Goldango. Now, Goldango is a very unique Pokemon in that it blocks all status moves. So anything that's not an attack move, Goldango is a perfect switch into. It has Steel and Ghost typing, which is a very good defensive typing. Also rounds out a bit of the Steel Fairy Dragon Core. It's a really strong special attacker to pair with the already strong physically attacking Dragonite. So that's Goldango. Pretty much all I have to say about that mon. Next we have Urshifu Single Strike, which that is the dark fighting one for those of you who don't know. Yes, Wicked Blow did get nerfed in this generation. However, that does not stop Urshifu from being a complete menace. It also got access to Trailblaze, which boosts its speed, and Swords Dance in this generation, which makes it way more of a threat, especially when it can free Terrastalize. Up next, we have Screamtail, and I picked Screamtail mostly because I wanted the Steel Fairy Dragon Core, as well as some bulky Wish support. And Screamtail is one of the very few fairies that I thought I would actually be comfortable drafting to this team. It provides Wish support for my offense, as well as a fast support Pokemon with options like Thunder Wave, Baton Pass, and Encore. And Like, it's not the best offensive Pokemon, but I thought it would support my great offense with that much speed and that much bulk. So, yeah, Screamtail went to the team. Up next, we have Glimora. Glimora is our hazard setter and our hazard remover. So, its main job is going to be to set Stealth Rocks, Toxic Spikes, Spikes, whatever. Basically, get those on the field so that my breakers can pressure a little bit more easily. And it can also, with Mortal Spin, get rid of entry hazards that the opponents may want to set up. Up next, we have Hisuian Zoroark, and besides Dunsparce, which I unfortunately could not fit on this draft, Hisuian Zoroark is one of my favorite Pokemon. It is the mascot of this league. I've really wanted to try it. This thing has 3 immunities. It is the second Ghost type on the team, which is fine because Ghosts are very strong in Generation 9. And it's a great special attacker, has base 110 speed, and overall just a really strong Pokemon. And with the 3 immunities it has with Illusion, I can do some pretty funny shenanigans with it, and I'm looking forward to using it. Up next, we have Jolteon. So Jolteon was really good value for where it was at. It was at 5 points, which base 130 speed for 5 points is nothing to scoff at. I also wanted something that could get my breakers like Dragonite and Urshifu and Goldengo in a little bit easier. Jolteon can do that. It's a fast pivoter, and it also gets access to Baton Pass, which means I can also get my breakers in that way. And overall, just a really, really solid Mon. Up next, we have Gastrodon. And Gastrodon got a bit of a buff in this generation. It got both Stealth Rock and Spikes. It lost Scald, but that's an exchange I'm willing to make. Because it got Stealth Rock, it got Spikes, it got Chilling Water, it has Recover still. So Gastrodon's just like a glue, bulky water type that this team needed to hold it together. And finally, we have Hisuian Decidueye, which is another Pokemon I'm looking very much forward to trying out. It's a grass fighting type. It gets access to U-Turn. It has its own signature move, Triple Arrows, which, if I recall correctly, is pretty strong. Then it's one of the few Mons that actually has Defog in this generation. So that's nice. And yeah, let me know what y'all think of the Scarlet and Violet draft. I think this is one of the more fun teams that I could have drafted with my draft position. And up next, we're going to go to Sword and Shield. So in Sword and Shield, I was very fortunate. I had the 5th pick of the draft, but Tornadus Therian made it to me. And Tornadus Therian is one of the best Pokemon in Generation 8 Draft League. Tornadus Therian has the ability Regenerator, which with the right pivot options is very, very good in Sword and Shield. And we paired it with 2 other Regenerator Mons in Galarian Slowking and Mienshao, which makes a nice offensive 3-Mon Regenerator core, which is just amazing. And we paired that with Excadrill and Tyranitar for the sand, and which means I can gradually get chip on things while still having my breakers. Then finally I have Spectrier and Silvally, which Silvally gets Parting Shot. It can be any type, so it can be any of the types I'm missing. Like, I'm missing a Fairy type, for instance. But if I see a problematic Dragon type, I can just bring in Silvally Fairy. And then Spectrier's just a really, really solid late game cleaner. It's faster, or it's one of the fastest Mons in the format, besides like Zeraora and Dragapult. And its special attack is just through the roof, and if I can get this in against my opponents, I can just sweep them. And then I have Lantern and Thwackey. These were the 2 lower tier picks. Lantern because I wanted somewhat of a bulky water, and Lantern can provide just that, as well as give me Volt Switch. And Thwacky has priority and Grassy Glide. It has U-turn. It has knockoff. Pretty much the best value I could get out of a 2-point Pokemon. Anyway, let me know what y'all think of the Sword and Shield draft. I know I kind of sped through this one a little bit, but this team is very straightforward. You have your removal in Excadrill and Silvally. You have your breakers in Torn, Mienshao, and Spectrier. Then you have your pivots, Torn, Glowking, Mienshao, and then Lantern and Thwacky also pivot nicely, especially Silvally too with a parting shot. So yeah, this is the most straightforward one of my drafts, and sometimes straightforward can be really powerful as well. Okay, so next we're getting to the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the Gen 7 draft. And this draft, there is the one with the wonky sprites. So this right here, this Pokemon that is barely seeable, that is Electrode. So I had 4th pick in this draft. And I went ahead and took Landorus Therian. So Landorus Therian, great Mon with Z moves. Very powerful, just one of the strongest Pokemon in the format. It has access to Z-Fly as well as ground moves, so it basically hits almost anything super effectively. And then we paired it with Mega Lopunny. Mega Lopunny, great fast breaker, and it has no single 2 typings that resist its dual stabs because it can hit ghost types with its Scrappy ability. So nothing in the game switches into both resists both normal and fighting as long as it has the Scrappy ability, so that's really nice. Then we have Tapu Fini, which was a defogger, was a fairy type. I actually got sniped a couple of times on that one, but Tapu Fini, good choice for round 3. Not really too much to say about that. Then we got Greninja. Greninja can only run Torrent in this format, but that doesn't really matter because Torrent Greninja still provides great utility such as both spikes, U-turn. It gets Scald still in this generation. It's just great value for the low 13 points it was at. Up next we have Heatran. I wanted a Steel type, and Heatran fit the bill perfectly, especially in a format with free Z moves where I can just run Bloom Doom. Heatran, very powerful Pokemon. Very nice combo with the rest of what I got. Up next, I picked Serena. Serena was a grass type, resists ground, which is very important when I have a Heatran. It has U-turn, and most importantly, it has Rapid Spin, which Rapid Spin is very nice utility when I'm trying to set up spikes against my opponent, and I don't want to be the one clicking Defog to remove hazards. Up next, we have Skuntank. Skuntank was just a very cheap both dark and poison type. I already had a dark type in Greninja, but Skuntank was a very cheap poison type, and it has one of the few niches Dark has that Greninja doesn't, which is that it has the move Pursuit. And Pursuit, for those of you who don't know, is a move that's power doubles if the opponent switches out. It was later removed in Generation 8, but Skuntank is one of the best low-tier Pursuiters there is, so it was a really nice pickup there. Then, towards the end of the draft, I had a lot of points left, and I wanted to go with Latias. Latias bridged the speed gap I had from Greninja down to Landorus. And so, Latias with that base 350 speed as well as access to a lot of Z moves, just very, very strong. It also gets Defog, Wish, it gets a lot of support options, and then finally we have Electrode to round things off. Electrode, not a great Pokemon, but it's fast. It was 1 point, and it can explode on people. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for the Sun and Moon draft. Let me know what y'all think of that in the comments below. And finally, we get to the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire draft. All three of the other drafts, we had 9 Pokemon, and this one we have 10. And this is my favorite format. I'll go into a little bit more detail here about what I picked and why I picked it. So, I was 8th pick of the draft. And with 8th pick, Mew and Weavile fell to me. Mew is my favorite Pokemon in the format just due to its sheer versatility. It can be relevant in almost every single matchup. And Weavile pairs amazingly with it. It's a fast breaker. It pursuits the problematic psychic types that Mew can't otherwise break, or it pursuits things like Gengar, which are slower than Weavile. And we have Infernape and Rotom Wash. This was about pivoting. This was about getting my Mew or my Weavile in. Infernape, being a very strong fighting type, can kill those darks that Mew struggles with, as well as U-Turn, and it gives me a Stealth Rocker, which Stealth Rocks is very, very important in Generation 6. And then we have Rotom Wash, which it provides me with utility such as Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp, both of which are significantly stronger in Generation 6 than they are in later generations, because Paralysis makes it so your speed is 1/4 of its original speed, rather than 1/2 in the later generations. And Thunder Wave cannot miss in Gen 6. And then Will-O-Wisp burns the opponent, and burn deals 12 damage instead of 6 damage. So in this generation, it is not mitigated by leftovers, which means Rotom Wash becomes all that more valuable. It does not have Defog in this generation, but it doesn't need it. It has everything it needs to thrive. So the next Pokemon I picked was Roselia. Now Roselia, I took it pretty early, and that's because no other Pokemon provides what it does at 3 points. You get Spikes and Toxic Spikes, as well as other utility moves such as Leech Seed and Sleep Powder for 3 points. And it doesn't even hit that softly either. It can take a couple of special hits. It can hit hard with Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb. And it has both spiking utility. But to pair with that spiker, we need something that can remove hazards, which I picked Donphan. Donphan is one of the only rapid spinners in the gen. It's a ground type, which was a typing we did not have yet. It can hit strong with moves like Earthquake, Knockoff, and Ice Shard for priority. It has the Sturdy ability, really, really nice. Can't be one shot, so I can at least guarantee rocks go off my side of the field. Or I guess, no, I can't guarantee that if rocks break the Sturdy, but it will take most defensive hits, so in that sense, I can get rocks off the field. Next, we have Metagross. Metagross was the strongest Steel-type Pokemon on the board. It has access to Pursuit. It can also be a very reliable Mega Gardevoir check. Mega Gardevoir, in my opinion, is the scariest Pokemon in the format, so I wanted something that could revenge kill it with like Bullet Punch or trap it with Pursuit. And then next we have Archeops. Archeops was a bit of a metagame pick. You see, I kind of knew that I was playing against some certain Pokemon, and I wanted Archeops' speed and typing for that matchup. Next we have Munchlax. Once again, Mega Gardevoir check. Very, very straightforward. Mega Gardevoir does not two-shot Munchlax. Then finally we have Mega Altaria to round this team off. Pixelate is not okay in this format. Okay, so Pixelate in later generations, it is a 1.2 boost. That's like giving your Pokemon an expert belt. So it does 20% more damage. In this generation, Pixelate, which is a move that turns all your normal type moves into fairy type moves. So it gives you that same attack type bonus, or same type attack bonus with stab, which already gives you an additional 1.5 damage multiplier, and it adds another 1.3 on top of it. That's like giving your Pokemon the item Life Orb without having to take recoil damage every time you attack with it. That's like very, very comparable damage to the later gens. Like, it's very high up there, and overall that makes Mega Altaria an insane breaker, and I think this is the most well-rounded and most fun to use out of all four of my drafts. And yeah, let me know what you all think of this one in the comments section below. I think personally this one is my favorite of the four. And I will catch you all in my week 1 battle, which is in Scarlet and Violet. I will see you all in the next one.